Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. One of the good guys of the heavyweight division, the long-time journeyman Kamil Sokolowski, has another scalp under his belt, taking the O of George Fox on a Frank Warren card, which was the Anthony Yarde and Lyndon Arthur card. So this was kind of a frustrating fight. I think if you watch this, you'll know the reason why, because the commentary was almost like it was watching a different fight. I was actually shocked when the decision came for Kamil Sokolowski, but he earned it. He truly did. So the referee-only decision by referee Lee Every, 79-75 to Sokolowski, and more than deserving. But the way that the commentators were going on through the fight, and I was tweeting about this on Twitter, you would have thought that Sokolowski was getting absolutely dominated by Fox, waxing lyrical about Fox controlling the fight, winning rounds, and Sokolowski basically having one or two good spots and then finishing a bit stronger. And when the decision came, absolutely shocked that Fox didn't get it. Fox being the house fighter, I guess they just expected it, but they were absolutely riding his nuts unnecessarily through the fight. The reality was, Sokolowski won this and won it comfortably. He was just doing more. The first couple of rounds, he was just throwing more shots and landing. George Fox, for all his height and his reach, he wasn't really using those advantages. One of the things the commentators kept banging on about was his jab and how it was so effective in basically keeping Sokolowski at bay and racking up points for him. But the reality was, he wasn't using it effectively. It was underutilized. When he was throwing it, he was either just pouring it out like a rangefinder, or it was getting caught on the gloves or falling short. Not a lot of jabs were actually landing from George Fox. And part of his problem here was he was just too lackadaisical. Sometimes he was just sort of standing there not doing anything. Literally, there could be stretches of 10 or 15 seconds where he was just sort of standing there posturing, maybe pouring the jab out, but not throwing punches. And this is the crux of the issue. He just got outlanded, outworked by Sokolowski, who from the get-go was coming forward, trying to land his jab, but most importantly, and I think this paid dividends later in the fight, he was working the body. It was an effective punch for Kamil Sokolowski. He was landing it with regularity from the get-go, and I think it did start to take the stuffing out of George Fox. So after those first couple of rounds, which I gave to Sokolowski, I thought they were clear Sokolowski rounds, even though the commentators seemed to be watching a different fight. Fox actually came on strong in the third round. And this was, I thought, a clear Fox round. He got the better of the exchanges. There was a bit of urgency. But after that, the fourth round just fell away again. Wasn't really doing too much. Allowed himself to get outworked. He didn't really almost throw any punches in that round. So fast forward later in the fight, Kamil Sokolowski is the one finishing the stronger of the two. Clearly took the seventh round, probably strongest round of the fight, landing clean left hooks, clean right hands, and Fox didn't have an answer. And even between rounds, there just seemed to be something missing from the direction. Don Charles, George Fox's trainer and also father, didn't seem to see what was happening in front of him. He actually said, and I've got some notes, this is after round 6, do more of that, keep him occupied, you're confusing him. But the only one who seemed to be confused was George Fox, because he didn't realize he was losing the fight. There was no urgency even in those later rounds, and Sokolowski took round 7 dominantly, and he was the one landing, at least in the first half of the last round, the more clean and effective punches, George Fox really not having too much success. He took that final round on my card for this 8-rounder. I had it 7 rounds to 1. Could have been 8 rounds to 2. This was a fight where Kamil Sokolowski dominated. He was the one in charge. He was the ring general. He was the one actually landing the punches, outworking, outthinking, out-hustling George Fox, who I think in the commentators after the fight were just flabbergasted. And it wasn't just the guys that were calling the fight, even David Hay on the sideline. I don't know. It was like they were reading off some sort of script that we just weren't aware of, or they saw some sort of alternative fight in some other alternative reality that we just weren't privy to. But this was a clear Sokolowski win. And I thought they were going to rob him, but fair play that the referee did his job. That he actually gave the decision to the guy who won the fight. And that's what we want to see. We don't need to see some of these prospects. If they're not good enough, these are the sorts of fights that are going to, prove it out. And we saw it. I mean, against David Adelaide. Adelaide clearly lost to Sokolowski as well. In that case, he didn't get the decision. But here he did, and he deserved it. So I was pleasantly surprised and pleased for Sokolowski. Takes another O. I'm sure he'll continue to get too much work. And one of the things leading up to this fight, because remembering George Fox only recently signed to Frank Warren. He'd actually just had a fight a couple of months ago with Warren, but prior to that had been inactive for a couple of years. And you had to wonder what was going to happen with this fight. Just his fifth pro fight. Clearly, too much, too soon. He wasn't ready for Sokolowski. The low left hand was something that wasn't good for him. Ultimately, he was getting tagged with a lot of right hands, especially later in the fight. But just no urgency. He didn't deserve to win, and I'm glad he didn't. 29 years old, got a loss to Kamil Sokolowski now. Hard to see what he's going to do, where he's going to go, but Sokolowski, he rides again. No doubt we'll see him in a ring near you soon. Drop a comment, loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.